There we are. Welcome into the. I almost said the high noon stream. Welcome in. Go ahead, Parker. You do it. I'm having trouble.
Welcome to Pugs Parker. Proudly presents Pillow Talk on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
Wait. Yeah, I know. I do that. What is that puker voice? You just did it. Everybody does it whenever they imitate somebody on the radio from the. What? Where is that? Is that a real thing? Is the puker voice a real thing, or is it just something that we all imitate? Like, I don't know any real pukers. Do you?
Well, see, when I do a puker voice, it's like when I do a Hispanic accent. I either do Scarface or that really slow talking guy from Speedy Gonzalez. Whenever I'm doing my puker voice, I do Tom Likas, but only when Tom Likas is doing his intros and outros. And so Tom Likas is the guy that he's doing it ironically. He does it. He's not really a puker. I mean, the guy's just too good. And for the kind of trash show that he runs, you kind of are suspicious of I don't want to say the authenticity, but he's hamming it up a little bit. And that's the kind of puke that I do.
That's what puking is. Puking is a little bit of English on your vocalization, a little bit of spin, a little backspin. It's a little junk. You're putting a little junk in pitcher parlance. You're putting a little heat. You're putting a little sauce on your fastball. That's really all it is. Marv Albert, the NBA guy from downtown. I mean, Marv Albert, very, very well known puker. He's who I think of. Likas is good. Likas is a good puker. We got any good pukers here in town? I see. Here's the thing about being a puker, and James, you're absolutely right. It's kind of fun to talk that way, isn't it?
Well, it's kind of fun the second you leave talking like yourself and you take on any kind of character, because it really takes a lot of burden and really a lot of intimacy off, because then people aren't judging you. They're judging, it's their interpretation of this character that you're presenting to them. So it shields you from criticism, because they're not criticizing James Parker. They're criticizing the puker guy, because I'm not James Parker. I'm Turd Ferguson or, Jake Skidmore or something. Cool.
No, you're Jimmy St. James. Yeah. Some kind of bad radio name. Jimmy St. James on the breeze, taking you on all the way to about 7 o'clock tonight. We've got some Simon and Garfunkel coming up. Top of the hour. Also going to bring us some Fleetwood Mac for you, right? Yeah, stuff like that.
Man, and I love the ones that they're just kind of inappropriate. That's why I like Tom Likas. It's like, yeah, you can reach me at ticklemyballs.com.
But how did that start? Because there are pukers, and then there are the guys in radio who are just, they're just touched from God. They've just got the pipes. Yeah, Bobby Garza is a great example of that. Bobby Garza doesn't need to be a puker. He's just, he's the left-handed pitcher that can throw 100 miles an hour. He was just born with that.
Yeah, and he's also, it's like, what if Quagmire from Family Guy actually had a golden voice, right? Giggity. He could sell it. Like, Bobby Garza can sell you on all this nasty, perverted stuff that he did over the weekend. It's like, yeah, you all swapped wives. Sounds like a good time.
Like, he had a good voice, though. He had a good radio voice. I was not blessed with a good radio voice. I mean, I was blessed with a weird voice, a unique voice that I guess over time people have been like, you've got a good radio voice. And I'm like, yeah, but for the first 20 years of my life, it was just a weird voice. You know what I mean?
It's almost your gimmick now.
Yeah, I know. And it's real. I mean, this isn't like me doing a voice.
It's like that track guy with the peg legs.
Yeah, no. How are you, James? Did you have a good weekend?
I had a fantastic weekend. It was very kid-focused. Played a lot of Foursquare, played in some dirt. There's a construction site behind the corner store over here where we go play in the big pile of rocks with the kids. It was great.
All right, that sounds like fun.
A lot of dumb stuff.
What did I do this weekend? I did a whole lot of nothing. I've been doing the same thing since Friday. I've been NFL free agent crazy. James, it's insane.
Am I going to hear about the big Bear trade now? Go ahead.
No. Unless it comes up organically, I would never.
Oh no, we wouldn't force
on the listening audience. I would not. I would. I mean,
because we're all dripping with Bear talk over here.
Although all I can do is wonder Which one are you referring to? Because we've been so active, we've just been knocking them down, baby. Which are you referring to? Just for my own personal edification, which are you referring to?
Oh, none of them. Not 0% of the Bear interactions in the offseason are we any of us interested in. But no, I'm just being a dick. Actually, I am watching this actually with bated breath because you're aware of my theory that the first round pick of football and, well, to a lesser degree, basketball, but really football. Football's the big one. The first round pick is more of a burden than it is a blessing. It has more of a history of failure than it does of success. And when you compare it to the likelihood that your first round, like especially the top half of the first round, that guy's going to work out versus the guy at the end of the row or versus the guy you pick in the third round, does not bear out when you compare it to the increase that you're going to pay him. The salary cap hit is the important part. The salary cap hit that he takes to your team is bigger in proportion than the likelihood that he's going to work out versus a second or third round pick. So it's no surprise that these teams that get the first round picks over and over and over, or the higher, like the top 5 picks, the Clevelands, the Houstons, the Detroits, there's a reason why these people stay at the bottom. And it's not just bad team management. It's this anchor that comes with the simple math of they are not worth the price that you pay.
Well, I mean, on the second contract, yeah. But I mean, as far as like the draft, I mean, those are rookie contracts. There are ceilings. You can't pay a rookie a crazy amount of money. I said there is a max that a rookie can be paid on his first deal. That's why, you want to get your ace quarterback on his rookie deal. You want to be paying him whatever you're supposed to pay rookie. I mean, it's in the second contract or the first contract. First contract after your rookie deal is where they cash in, which is where guys start demanding trades, and you start like, look, what's going on with Lamar Jackson? Although, is this Lamar Jackson? This can't be the end of his rookie deal. Lamar Jackson.
No, he's on his second year.
No, I think he got franchise tagged twice. I think this might be. I think he's looking to get paid.
Rude rule, man. How does that even? That's a thing, man.
But I'm not talking about the draft. The draft is still 6 weeks away. The draft is. I'm done worrying about the draft. Oh, was that what you were referring to? The big news on Friday when my Bears traded the number 1 overall pick for an absolute haul of toys, including DJ Moore.
I think they're going to be very happy with that precisely because. Go watch. Who do they trade it to? Go watch who they pick with that with the Bears pick, and see how likely that dude is to work out, and then compare it to what the Bears got. And I can almost guarantee you, 3 years down the road, you're going to say the Bears ran away with this one.
Look, I happen to agree with you about the draft. I think the NFL draft is a shell game. I think you are just as likely to get your all-time leading franchise score in the 4th round as you are in the 1st round. And experts get paid 7 figures to be wrong in the 1st round. And
in the 1st round, you're just as likely to get a Peyton Manning as you are a Ryan Leaf.
Right. Or Zach Wilson. I mean, we can go back into more recent times. We can talk about Mitch Trubisky, my Bears, famously. I mean, the experts, he's the number 2 overall pick. Anyway, free agency is what started today, not officially. I mean, this is kind of like the bullshit free agency, anything that occurs over the next 72 hours of this free agency window right now, anything that occurs over the next 72 hours does not become official until the start of the new league year, which officially happens Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Time. So Wednesday at 3 p.m. is the new year. So any of these contracts that you're signing with free agents right now and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, free agency is going nuts, James. And yes, my Bears went absolutely nuts today as far as our linebackers go. We got, in my opinion, the second best linebacker in the NFL, and he's only 26 years old. We got him in free agency. And then we got a top 5 off the ball linebacker. We got 2 linebackers. We got Tremaine Edmonds from the Buffalo Bills, and we got oh my God, what's his name? Why can't I think of his name now? From the Eagles, the starting linebacker for the Eagles.
Not Jalen Ramsey.
No, Jalen Ramsey went to Miami. At this point, Jalen Ramsey is like the much traveled Jaguars, Los Angeles. I mean, that's something that, you typically don't think of a top tier elite player being much traveled, but man.
But he is. And do I have to start paying attention to Miami now? Because, they just got Tyreek Hill and that other dude last year. Now, maybe if only they had a quarterback that,
Yeah, Tua. I mean, is Tua a broken doll? I mean, can Tua
Tua
play?
is just running into walls like a Roomba
I don't know.
right
I
now.
don't know. If he's healthy, he comes back. They'll be fine. Hey, James, I want to show you something because I know one of the things that we obsess on here in our little conversations is the phenomena of the teacher having sex with the student. I know I know it's a fan favorite, and I know it's one of your favorite conversations. So we got another one of these deals, and
No.
I want to show her to you because that's what we do, right? We decide whether or not this is a crime or not based entirely on the looks of the teacher.
And I'm disgusted by all of these, but I need to see her go.
Yeah. All right, so here she comes. First, let me give you the story before I show her to you, okay? And then you know what? We can play the game. We can play a game. You can tell me, do you think that she's going to be. You give her a number grade. I will give you the description, right? Where she's from, what all went down, what she teaches. And then I'll say, on that hotness scale, the universally accepted hotness scale, 1 to 10. All right, I will ask you, and then you tell me what you think she is, okay? And then we'll look at a picture of her, and we'll see how close she came. Sound like fun?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay. First of all, her name is Andy. Andy Rosafort. She's a lunch aide. She's a lunch lady.
Oh no. Oh man, and I gotta watch it because I have a cousin that's a lunch lady.
I know, but you're already kind of imagining what she must look like, right?
Well, Ashley's not so bad.
No, I know, but just in my personal history.
Oh, I know. My lunch ladies were pretty hideous. The Adam Sandler wrote that song, and we all laughed at it for a reason.
Because it was true.
Yeah.
Andy Rosenford is a lunch lady in Connecticut who is accused of sexually assaulting a teenage boy. According to public records, Rosafort, she's 31. Does that change your metric at all?
It helps. It goes in the right direction. We'll say that.
Rosafort is 31 and lives in New Fairfield. She's accused of second-degree sexual assault, enticing a minor by computer, and risk of injury to a minor. She's entered a not guilty plea.
Hey, guys, stop. Risk of injury. What was he going to sprain an ankle? Dude, I don't understand the legal world, so and my ignorant opinion probably amuses other people.
Oh, wait, I got more details on her. So she is a lunch lady. That's how she came in contact with this kid. But dude, she also fills in shop class. She's also a shop teacher.
Right. So if you need, don't let your meat loaf and don't let your drill press. We got all kinds of stuff, bud.
So, you're figuring out what we're looking at. I mean, I just don't understand these stories. Sometimes you see these stories about 14-year-old boys hooking up with a teacher and you go, well, I was a 14-year-old boy once and I could totally understand how that would happen, right? After seeing the teacher. Other times you're like, what's this 14-year-old boy thinking? I don't want to influence you, James. In an affidavit obtained by WTNH-TV, it says the former Fairfield lunch lady was accused of sending a teenage boy nude photos and videos over Snapchat for 6 months. According to the television station...
6 months? Yeah, she worked this kid for 6 months?
James, I believe the word is groomed. I believe she groomed him.
Right. My God, the dedication here, man. I can't even stick with a Netflix binge for 6 months.
She's good. Probably works on a lot of long-form shop projects. I bet you that's how she's dedicated. She puts plans. She follows a blueprint. She
spends a little too much time at the little derby there where they have the cars that go down the ramp.
The lathe. All of her clothes, all of her pocket. You're like kissing her in the doorway of her house. You reach into her pocket and she's just got like a little pile of sawdust from the lathe.
Yeah, is that a drill bit or are you happy to see me?
Yeah. Let's see. Rosafort is accused of having sexual intercourse with the boy. The television station reported... Yeah, she did him. Or he did her. The television station reported that the victim's friend told a parent that their friend was sexually assaulted by a lunch lady. It's not funny. Look, no. You know what, James? This is not a tragedy. This 14-year-old boy was not taken advantage of. Okay, he's a 14-year-old boy. Is there a double standard here?
Yes.
We go through this all the time. If this was a 50-year-old driver's ed teacher and a 14-year-old girl, I would be taking this much more seriously.
I would throw him into a live volcano.
Yeah.
But I'm high-fiving this kid. Like, look, what happened was wrong, and it's illegal, and it shouldn't happen. And I don't encourage other lunch ladies to start 6-month Snapchat relationships with their students here. Now, this is all wrong. This is all negative.
We
There
understand.
is a tinge of comedy to be found in this otherwise tragic story.
Well, when it's a young girl, you think of younger, and I don't know, just maybe because I'm a man, and maybe because you're a father, but maybe there is just something inherently in us that kicks in that feels overly protective of 14-year-old girls.
Oh yeah, and no, but that makes it rational because if the roles are reversed, a 50-year-old shop teacher getting a 14-year-old girl pregnant ruins her entire life. A
Yeah.
14-year-old boy getting the 31-year-old lunch lady pregnant kind of ruins her entire life, and she sort of deserves it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, right?
yeah.
She did something wrong.
Gender sexuality, especially in the teenage years, they're not the same for boys and girls. They're very different. Girls accept a much different, or accept or forge or whatever it is, a much different role sexually, than boys do. So it's
Right.
not the same. It's not the same trauma, I guess is what I'm
Right,
trying
but
to
the
say.
burden isn't carried by the minor when the genders are affiliated in this direction.
Now, technically, was he taken advantage of by a person presumably in a position of power? Yeah, but she's a lunch lady. James, did you ever view any lunch ladies to have any position of power over you?
Yeah, the authority kind of ended like right around the sphere of where the corn dog tray stopped, right? There was no authority outside of
Not
the
only
lunch
authority,
tray.
but respect. I mean, the lunch
None,
lady is right
none.
there. The lunch lady is right there with the school bus driver and the janitor. Among high school kids, there's no
Right.
respect for those
What?
three people.
It's look, I hear a lot of it's not that bad in Bug Tussle because the lady that just slapped the mashed potatoes on your tray. That was Miss Edmondson, and she went to my church, and she actually had a daughter that was my sister's age, and her son was a couple grades below me, but he's in the same grade as my cousin, and we actually all go to Sharon Baptist Church together. So you're not
It's
cracking
partial.
skulls or yeah, they're just ladies in the community where I'm from.
All right, well, James, let's meet Andy. Let's meet the 31-year-old lunch lady slash shop teacher who groomed this child over the course of 6 months and then had.
Scale of 1 to 10, huh? This is what we're looking for. And
Yeah.
commenters, be preparing, formulating, brewing in your head your scale of 1 to 10 or visceral reaction, please.
Hold on. Sharon says, if this was your son, isn't your son 13? If this happened to my son, I would follow all of the appropriate legal hoops and whatever it is that we have to go through. Would I stay awake late at night for the rest of, his teenage years, wondering about how this is going to affect him as a young man? No. No, I'm not, because it is not going to. I might if it was my daughter, though. And
You
that,
would think you totally failed your daughter as a father. Yeah,
no.
this had happened, and it's not rational, and I can admit that, Sharon.
But for a boy, as the boy's father, I'd be like, so he got laid early. I'm not that. He'll be fine. He'll walk it off. He's a boy.
We're gonna have to have a
He'll walk it
talk.
off.
Yeah.
His friends think he's a hero. I mean, really, they do. So 1 to 10, what are you thinking? What could make this good boy go bad?
Actually, if this was your son, what your first reaction would be is, what does she look like? Before I judge my
True.
son.
And if you're a dad who's attended like student teachers, you're like, it's not your math teacher, is it? It's not Mrs. It's not Mrs. Van
Please tell me Miss Muscola. Right.
because I didn't know. I didn't know she was in place, son. I didn't know. I thought that she was. All right, go ahead. Give me your score. Give me your. What do you think? 1 to 10. What's she look like?
Well, let me see.
Well, you give me a score. You tell me what you think based on the
How the
fact
hell
that
should I know?
because I told you she's 31. She's a lunch lady. She's a shop teacher.
I don't know if she's 310 pounds. I need more information. I don't have enough.
That's the guess. That's the guess. What do you imagine from the description? She's a 31-year-old lunch lady, dude. She's not an Ivy League graduate for crying out loud. So what are you imagining? Give me a score.
6. All right, fine. 6. This is an impossible question, though.
Thank you for playing along. And here she is.
Can you full screen that?
Actually, there are better pictures, but I wanted to show you that picture.
That's
She's
the
kinda
mug
hot.
shot.
She's kind of hot. She is not terrible.
I have done worse.
I have done worse. She's kind of cute. Okay, so let's see. We got some more pictures. Yeah, we do. Okay, so here's some. Okay, so what's this now? We gotta go to Twitter. I'm gonna share this over on Twitter. Hold on. All right, let's look at these pictures. All right, here she is now. Yeah, she's looking a little. All right, so she's okay. She's not bad.
Well, she's not fat, and that's your primary concern when you find out your son bagged the lunch lady. You're like, oh no,
Fill-in shop teacher.
because look, if other people find out your son and the lunch lady happened, they're going to look at her and they're going to judge you as a father on whether, based on her looks. And so if she comes out, as a tank and your son went hogging one day for the lunch lady, that means a whole lot different than if she looks like this. So this is actually sort of not a good thing. It's still negative and illegal and it shouldn't, and we're not celebrating this.
Right.
But I'm not saying I'd be proud. I'm just saying I would have avoided shame if she looked like this.
Yeah, and look, the two pictures, she's got her Walmart bag. She's obviously at Walmart. This is whatever. The picture in the middle, she's got her hair done up, and she looks a little bit better. She looks like she could put on a nice dress, and you could take her out, and there'd be no problems.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you're talking about dads. You're talking about other. You just know that wherever she goes in this town, wherever she is, all the other dads are gonna be like, "That's the one that banged Parker's boy." It's like that's now all the other dads are checking her out because they know she's freaky.
Oh man, see now this happened in Buck Tussle. There was a teacher who slept with a guy on the basketball team. Actually, there's two teachers that slept with two guys on the basketball team in the same motel room, which I thought was just y'all are skipping steps over here. Here's what happens in small town America: they have to move. They move to some other town, and you never hear from them again. And it's like, oh well, I guess they're gone. So just to let you know how that works out here in Bug Tussle. You're gone. You're gonna go.
You're on your own. It's not like a Catholic church thing where they put you in the Catholic relocation program where they just send you to another place to molest kids.
No,
Like,
it
you're just on your own. You just got to leave because the shame of the community is too much for you to bear.
Yeah, there's no organization that signs a piece of paper that tells you to leave. It's just going to be more pleasant for you going forward if you do. Yeah.
It's a tough one to stick around. Oh, okay. There you go. I just saw that one and I thought that was interesting. I thought she was attractive. And I'm reading the story and I'm like, lunch lady, fill-in shop teacher. This has got to be. And then I saw the picture and I was like, oh, well, look at her.
But that is nice because you are expecting a swamp donkey.
Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
James, what do you got?
Do you care about this bank collapse or is that too nerdy?
No. I like it. We've been covering it on the High Noon Show. You're talking about Silicon Valley Bank, a rich people bank going under because these cowboys are out there just inventing in every stupid new app that every moron 17-year-old creates in his garage. But James, go ahead. Tell me why this is an important story. I mean, I think it's important because it could be the canary in the coal mine, but what do I know?
Yeah, well, today was huge in the fact that it turned out somewhat positive and allayed a lot of fears because some of the problems that SVB is facing, Silicon Valley Bank was facing, is what a lot of these banks are facing. It's just I've been watching this because we have never in human history done this thing where we artificially lowered bond rates, interest rates to basically zero for an entire decade and then started raising them, because what that does is make all the bonds that were sold at that interest rate for the last decade, I mean, almost worthless. I mean, they're all money losers now, right? So you have an entire class of like a $35 trillion bond market and half of it's trash the second you start raising the rates. And you also have the weird dual incentive here of the FDIC will insure all deposits up to $250,000, which sounds astronomical to me and you pugs and the commenters over there who are a bunch of financial losers just like us. But when you have Silicon Valley with these startups that have millions, if not billions of dollars, $250,000 limit means nothing, right? So why would you leave your money in the savings account that's getting 0% now that you have T-bills going up to almost 5%? You wouldn't. And so you're naturally having capital flight. So these two things are happening because the Fed has to raise interest rates because they're trying to sop up the money supply to stave off this inflation problem. And there's no good way out of this. And is this going to happen to other banks? It could. Maybe SVB is the first. Maybe this is something that you're going to see more of. But today sure makes me feel a whole lot better because all weekend I was going through everyone else's rabbit holes trying to figure out who has the best predictions, and I don't know who's right.
Well, what happened? What happened today again? That was a glimmer of hope.
Well, we had sort of evidence that this could be a contagion. Like, this is not a problem with SVB. This is a
Oh,
problem with the whole financial sector. And look,
well, that
theoretically
doesn't sound like a ray of hope to me. That sounds like
the ray of hope is that we only have 3 banks that have gone into receivership, and I know that sounds like a lot considering they don't collapse every day. But
yeah.
if it had been more like 5 or 6, then that would have scared a lot more people, because the shockwaves that happen every time one of these banks go down. You and I don't have an account at Silicon Valley Bank.
No,
I've never even seen a branch in my life.
no.
But in its market area of Silicon Valley, which tech startups and a lot of companies that we all deal with every day, they're like 25% of all the deposits in that market are in Silicon Valley Bank. So if they collapse, then you're going to have a lot of these little tech startups necessarily fail because they are not able to recoup their money or recoup it fast enough. When this thing goes into receivership and they have to sell off the assets to make the depositors whole. This is going to cause other institutions to fail that have nothing to do with finance or banks.
Yeah, this is one of those banks. If you've ever been to like a really rich neighborhood, I wouldn't even call it a strip mall, like a plaza, right? Like here, like we got Highland Park Village here. There's a Tiffany store. There's a Hugo Boss store. You know what I mean? There's like all of these like super really expensive things. So sometimes you find yourself maybe walking around these kinds of places and you'll see that there's a place that says it's a bank, but you look inside and there's no tellers or anything like that. It's just like fancy offices. That's what Silicon Valley Bank is, which is why it is so funny that the government, Janet Yellen and all of her little cronies trying to fix this, the message from the government, the United States government, was do not fear people who have trusted your money to the Silicon Valley Banking Corporation. Do not fear. The FDIC is going to step in and get involved here. Now, quite the heroic move. Thank you, government. Here's the problem. That only covers up to $250,000 of your money. The people with their money in Silicon Valley Bank have way more than just $250,000 in that bank, which, you know me, I hate the 1%. So this is very funny to me. This isn't like your neighborhood savings and loan going under where it's going to lose, old Doc Drucker's life savings. No. This is like some rich people, a bunch of Ponzi scheme, bunch of dummies just look, the expert class, whether it's the guys who are going to tell you exactly who the 5 best picks in the NFL draft are, or it's the guys who are going to tell you what the next big mover out of Silicon Valley is going to be. They're all full of shit. And when these things happen, it just proves to me that these people aren't experts. They're just walking around pretending to be experts. And we're so desperate. At least we're self-aware enough to know that we don't understand this complicated stuff. We're desperate to have people to trust. So we trust people who call themselves experts, and then shit like this happens.
Yeah, I'm sort of indifferent to whether or not a 1%er wins or loses, but in the fact that, my heart doesn't bleed for the 1%er, but if like dogcollars.com, some new awesome startup goes out of business because of this, sure, some millionaire loses his butt, but all the people that were like taking orders and working on the website and that, all the employees are now out of a job too.
Right.
So,
And that's the terrible reality at the street level. But here's the problem with that, James, and I'm sure you'll agree. People like Silicon Valley Bank, the one that we're talking about here, they were major. They're not like, again, you don't take, Billy down there with his first paper delivery check and open him an account. That's not what this is. What they do is they're almost like venture capitalists. They're like a holding fund for, things to invest in. So they acquire all this money and their reputation gets other people with a lot of money to invest. It's almost like a hedge fund, but it's a bank. It's a different kind of a thing. But James, here's the problem and I'll let you take the stage because I could go on and on about this because I do love this story. There was no reason when you referenced that person who came up with the next great pet collar, right? The next great innovation. It's a pet collar, but it's an app, and it's where these are going to be the next big thing. We've seen this now for 20 years. These products come. They didn't exist before, and they make somebody incredibly wealthy. These are the fucking people at these banks who are giving these startups $500 million to start it up. That's why, because of greed, because everybody wants to be involved in a good idea. When something like the Silicon Valley Bank says, hey, we kind of like this new pet collar idea, suddenly the greed kicks in and everybody wants to be a part of it. So all of a sudden, now you've got an inflated thing. Here's 200 grand. Make your fucking pet collar and then come back and talk to us. But right? I mean, we have been inflating the wealth of the people in this field, in the tech particularly, by the idea that, oh, it's gonna be big. It's gonna be a $10 billion industry in the next 10 years, right? That's what we hear about all of this shit.
There's
ridiculously
exuberance.
rich, and then we wonder why the bank fails.
Well, there's exuberance, but it's not necessarily irrational because the guy with the next big thing is going to make you a big
Right.
bunch of money. Because if you had bought a bunch of Netflix in 2009 and held it till
Sure.
last year, you would have been very happy with your return. And that's what everyone's trying to get on.
Uber.
They're not trying to get on the next MySpace. They're not trying to get on the next Vine.com. They're trying to get on the next big winner. And a lot of them fail. Some of them win.
Most of them fail.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
We
yeah.
remember the big names, but most of them fail. Even the ones that in our memory banks might be big names like Pets.com. I don't even think they're around anymore.
Right. That's the good one. That's the good one. But look, I can understand these people getting excited because it is Vegas. It is rolling the dice down the craps table. And hey, people.
But then we can't boo-hoo when they blow all the money and the bank fails. Because it's like these guys were just cowboys in fancy suits pretending like their Wharton business degree gave them some leg up on the rest of us when they're all just con men.
Well, it's the problem with Silicon Valley Bank is how many advantages this bank has just because of its location and its proximity to the biggest companies on planet Earth. You know, because think about the Silicon Valley companies. Because, you know, we think about tech companies like Apple and Google and Facebook is there. But also they have like Wells Fargo, they have Visa. So if you went and open sort of like a bug tussle Valley Bank, you know, you're going to get all the great deposits of me and Russell and Cody and Rusty. But there is no Mark Zuckerberg that's bringing his money down there. There is no
Who's going to stake your bank? Who's going to stake your bank with $5 billion? You're just going to sit $5 billion of his money in your bank and say, "I trust you to find the next great pet collar."
Right. So in the financial world, this would be like, what if you're the Kansas City Royals and you just saw the New York Yankees get last place? You're like, what hope do I have? Right? That if the biggest dog with the most advantages just put his head up his butt and died, what does this mean for these other regional banks who don't have these natural advantages from being from Silicon Valley?
You know, one of the great stories, I love this here. There were a lot of companies that never sold anything but stocks. Yeah, that's true.
Right.
They went public, everybody became super rich, and then the product didn't sell.
Moderna never sold anything but a stock.
I'll give you a great example of someone here in Texas who probably laughs about this all the time. Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban is a billionaire because he invented something that a bunch of really rich tech investors thought there might be an application for that in the future. So they made Mark Cuban a billionaire, Mark Cuban and Todd Wagner. They made him a billionaire. And then that thing that they bought, they never did anything with. It was broadcast.com. And they shuttered it, or I think they rebranded it as broadcast.com. But Mark Cuban is a billionaire for a product that never made it to market.
Yeah, well,
Think about that.
It'd be like if Disney invented Mickey Mouse and then didn't make any Mickey Mouse cartoons. They just licensed it to everyone else to make Mickey Mouse cartoons. So they didn't actually do anything with it themselves. They licensed out just the thought process that Mark and what was the other guy's name? I don't even remember.
Todd Wagner.
I'm impressed you remember that. Yeah, that's the amazing part about the system we have is we reward people who come up with innovations, even if you don't do anything.
Right.
You just pass the idea along to other people who do something with it.
But also,
Yeah.
they made Mark Cuban and Todd Wagner billionaires, eventually with the stock in the Google or whoever it was, a YouTuber Google, who I don't remember who it was, but it was somebody, and it turned into stock, and then that stock because they're anyway. They made all of this money, and they didn't have a viable product in the marketplace, yet a bunch of so-called experts thought that they were worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and this is why Silicon Valley Bank is failing. That's an example of what I'm talking about. They're just throwing money around like it doesn't exist, like it's not real. And at the end of the day, or when that day comes, I should say, there's going to be a bill and a tab, and Silicon Valley couldn't pay it.
Well, they've been running such tight margins that one of the things that ran them under was the portfolio of old bonds that they have that have now been crushed. That rates went up, but from what I understand, they really haven't lost that much money gambling with their venture capital exploits in Silicon Valley. But they're necessarily now that they're attached to these people, they may be dragging them down with them instead of the venture capital firms collapsing, not being able to pay the bank back and dragging the bank down. This is sort of a reverse sort of, the tail wagging the dog thing, where it's instead of the venture capital dragging down the bank's going to drag down the venture capital firms.
And just the overall economy. They were too heavily leveraged in startups. And, the economy is not good. So it's not a great time for starting up new
Takes a
business.
long time for that to pay off, right?
Right. So, and that coupled with the rising interest rates that, Yellen's been giving us, crushed them. It crushed them. So, I don't know, canary in the coal mine or just a one-off. I don't know. But there are a lot of these kinds of banks, man. There are a lot of these kinds of weird little, they look like super rich shady banks. That's what I call them. Like that's where the Colombian drug money comes in. Like these right next to the Tiffany store at Preston and Mockingbird.
All right, explain this comment. He also stole your game show idea. What is that?
Mark Cuban stole. Mark Cuban.
What are you talking about? The Apprentice, or not the Apprentice? The Benefactor.
The Benefactor. He did the Benefactor first. The Apprentice was stolen from the Benefactor. Probably. I don't know. That might be wrong. But I pitched Mark Cuban on our show, on a show that he could do before he was doing TV, years before he was doing TV. I told him, I said, you should just go around the country and you should just make people rich. And I pitched him the whole thing.
Is that what he did on the Benefactor?
Yeah, basically. Hey, he was the benefactor to these young people. Anyway, he stole my idea. I also pitched him Hellevator, which I still think is a brilliant idea for a reality TV show. Do you remember what Hellevator is?
I can kind of guess by the name, but go ahead.
Hellevator is you get two people who are going through a divorce, and you get them both in the same elevator going up to the lawyer's meeting, and then you stop the elevator. You keep them trapped in the elevator, and you just record everything for as long as it takes. We'll go into the editing room. We'll chop it down to a half hour of content. But
Oh, that would be great, man. There'd be a lot of beeps in there, I imagine. Oh.
They don't expect it. They don't expect to be stuck with each other, and I'll keep them in there for 7 hours. Elevator.
Oh, man, that would be brutal.
Mark Cuban could have produced that. Could have been on. Come on, you see all these stupid shows? That could have been on A&E. That could have been on History. That could have been on whatever. Investigative Discovery. I don't know. All right. So I want to talk a little bit. Are you following? Well, I kind of want to, because I know you're a Cowboy fan. Are you following the Michael Irvin story at all?
Not at all. I don't know what you're talking about in the least.
So you don't know what I'm talking about. That's okay. That's fine. Yeah. Okay, so Michael Irvin, the week of the Super Bowl, was over there in Arizona. He was employed by ESPN, and he was down there also doing stuff for the NFL. He was down there as a guest of the NFL and a guest of ESPN. And Michael Irvin goes out on the Sunday night, or no, I think this was Thursday, Friday, whatever. The Super Bowl Sunday, Thursday, Friday, early week there, Super Bowl week. Party! There's a different party at a fancy hotel everywhere. Oh, man.
Michael Irvin loves the party.
What do we know about Michael Irvin?
He likes the ecstasy, and I can't fault the man for liking the ecstasy.
He likes to party. Yeah. We know this about him. So Michael Irvin goes out and he parties, and he comes back into the hotel, and it's the Marriott, but it's Super Bowl week. So and Michael Irvin's staying there. So you imagine there's other people of Michael Irvin's ilk staying there. So it's a fancy hotel, is the point I'm trying to get to. So he's walking through the lobby, and apparently he has a run-in with someone who works there, a young woman, concierge or something like that. Michael Irvin goes upstairs, and he goes to bed. He was drunk. He was out partying. He admits he was drunk. Goes upstairs, goes to bed. Mr. Irving! Hotel security, Mr. Irving! Hotel security are at his door. You got to get out of here, Michael Irvin. Hey, Playmaker, pack up your bag and get the hell out.
Who said that?
Security, hotel security, kicked his ass out. Now remember, I glossed over it. On his way through the lobby, he had a brush with a concierge or something. Something went on between him and an employee of the hotel. He just went to a hotel elevator, went to his room, went to sleep. A couple minutes later, hotel security, Mr. Irving. So they kick him out of the hotel. The next morning, news breaks that Michael Irvin has been sent home by ESPN and the NFL and will not be allowed to appear on any Super Bowl coverage the entire week. I don't know what's going on. Then the story breaks a few hours later that there was an incident between Michael Irvin and a young concierge in the lobby in full view of everybody at the Marriott there, and that there was video, and that the video of the incident was shown to ESPN, and ESPN went, "Bring him home." Bring him home. This is not going to be good.
Oh no. This sounds really bad. This got really bad really quick.
Good. Yeah, it's got really bad. And Michael Irvin the entire time. Michael Irvin, he's like, I don't know what this is about. That's my Michael Irvin imitation.
I don't like him. I thought it was.
I just, sometimes I just get so emotional, and I don't know what this is about.
I got to feel a woman up.
He said he had no idea what it was about. But, man, the NFL and ESPN both went, whoa, after it was reported that they had seen the videotape. Okay, so that's the Super Bowl. We don't hear anything about it. A bunch of weeks go by. Last Thursday, Michael Irvin holds a press conference. Got his lawyer out there. He's suing Marriott for $100 million. Why? Well, because he says that they interfered with his relationship between him and his employer. Put a pin in that. We'll get to that later. Mm-hmm. And that they falsely accused him of harassment and all this kind of stuff. Okay.
Why are you bringing this up?
$100 million he's looking. Marriott says, go fuck yourself. We've got the video. And then Michael Irvin's attorney got to see the video. Michael Irvin hadn't seen the video. Michael Irvin's attorney saw the video. And Michael Irvin's attorney goes to the press conference and goes, there ain't nothing on this. We won $100 million. So now we've got a new piece of this puzzle, James. So apparently on the Sunday night, or on the night of the incident that occurred in the Phoenix hotel, apparently one of the big wigs at Marriott, like one of the owners, was staying there at the hotel because Super Bowl. He was probably Super Bowl week, right?
Of course.
And the incident with the employee didn't just go to the manager of the hotel. It like somehow got on the owner of Marriott Corporation's radar almost immediately. So that dude apparently knew somebody at ESPN, like an executive at ESPN. He got on the phone that night and was like, Michael Irvin, blah, blah, blah. He's booked under a room that you guys are paying for. He's harassing my employees, blah, blah, blah. So this is where now Michael Irvin, as part of his $100 million suit, is saying that Marriott infringed upon his relationship with his employer by claiming, and now they're saying that at that point, the video was described to ESPN and the NFL, and both agreed after having a description of the video, they agree. No one has seen this video, dude. And the Marriott Corporation will not allow anyone to see this video.
Wait, now, so did Michael Irvin's lawyer see it?
Yes. Michael Irvin's lawyer saw the video and he says, let's make the video public and we're suing for $100 million. So whatever Michael
Irvin has seen it, Marriott has seen it, but ESPN did not see it.
No, but we were led to believe in the initial report that ESPN brought Michael Irvin home from the Super Bowl after having seen it. That is now being said no. Right. It was, but then they're saying it was described to them. But now they're saying, how could it have even been described to them that night when they didn't get the video for a full 24 hours later? This was a drunk Marriott executive blowing off steam to an ESPN executive after one of the ESPN superstars did something embarrassing, and it was a game of telephone. And so in order to just head it off at the pass, the NFL and ESPN said, all right, Michael Irvin, you got to come home. Why? Because they believed it was possible. And now Michael Irvin is playing the victim. Michael Irvin in his press conference equated what he has to go through here with people being lynched during Jim Crow.
Oh, God.
He did that. The humiliation.
Go ahead. Go for it, Michael. It might work.
But James, let me ask you, when I said, what do we know about Michael Irvin? We know that he likes to party, right?
Loves whores.
Loves whores, loves to party, used to love drugs, drinks a lot. He likes to get drunk.
I swear to God, if I ever made six figures, I wouldn't be in a motel room. But Michael Irvin's not too good for a motel room.
A motel, that's right. Michael Irvin suspiciously turns up in a lot of motels.
When you're a millionaire, you have no reason to be in a motel other than you're doing something shady.
Something with motel people. You know what I mean?
And I'm a motel people, so I can say that.
He is not. Michael Irvin is not motel people. Michael Irvin,
I am motel people.
yeah,
Right.
I am motel people. Michael Irvin is resort people. Michael Irvin is Four Seasons people. He is not motel.
Hey,
Anyway,
he's at least 3-star
he's
people.
Michael Irvin. He stays in the nicest hotels. So, but here's the
Marriott.
point. So why did ESPN cite Unseen after just hearing this from Marriott? Why did they just pull the plug immediately? Didn't hear Michael Irvin's side of it, just said, you know what, bring him home. Why? Because Michael Irvin has no goodwill, right? I mean, he has been kind of a toolbox for about 40 years now. So when a terrible story about Michael Irvin is told to his bosses, they believed it. Sight unseen. They just went, yeah, that's probably Michael. He probably grabbed her tit on his way up to his room. And now,
I have sympathy for him because, if that's the whole point of having a good reputation, you're supposed to be rewarded for not ever doing shady things in your past. And if you have done some sort of shady things in your past, and some people, don't give you the benefit of the doubt in the present time, that's kind of partially your fault, that doesn't make it right or wrong necessarily, because I think they may be wrong and giving him a hard time here. But Michael Irvin, you can't be surprised because, look, I'm a pretty big dirtbag who's done a lot of motel things, and I've never been arrested.
right. And now, but you can also say Michael Irvin is a target. You're not a target. Michael Irvin is a target for women of duplicitous nature who
Super fair
don't,
point.
you know,
Absolutely. Yes.
we don't have these kinds of things the way
No
he does.
one's targeting old Parker. Let's see what I can get out of this rich guy. Yeah.
But let's say that's the situation here. That he didn't do anything wrong, because apparently the videotape seems his lawyer seems pretty confident that the entire world should see the videotape that supposedly got him in all this trouble. So let's say the videotape is clean. Let's say that this really was just an opportunistic, duplicitous young woman looking to maybe, cash in during the Me Too times or whatever. Let's say that's the case. It worked for her to such an extent because it was Michael Irvin, because he's a dirtbag.
Hang on. But look, I spent a lot of time around dirtbags and
You got to
people like.
target the dirtbags, not Tom Brady. Tom Brady gets the benefit of the doubt. This Michael Irvin does not. Go ahead.
All right, but here's what I feel, because I also know the opportunistic, shady, broad demographic just as well as I know the drugged out, sex crazed jock strata of society.
Okay.
And so I kind of have a feeling here that, like, these girls that are in the concierge desk or whatever they do at Marriott, when the big boss shows up from the Super Bowl, he's been there probably for a week already and already made friends with the concierge, and he wants to get in good because he's an executive, and this is his chance to, like, touch Indians and get to know, like, how the little guy thinks and get some really good inside info on how the business runs, on the
Man of the
front
people.
lines,
I
right?
know how my company runs, from the boots on the ground level up to the most
Right.
ivory of offices.
Right, because he's not some snob, some elitist
No.
up in his ivory tower. He's a man of the people, and he's down there. And you know what? That one's kind of cute, and so he pays a little bit more attention to her. And after 2 or 3 days, they grow a little rapport, and he kind of starts to like her, and he thinks she sort of maybe likes him back. And they have some drunk moments, and maybe there's a hand on the thigh, maybe there's, like, I don't know, an attempted kiss, or maybe a successful kiss, or
Maybe there's some talk of moving her to corporate marketing at the San Jose head office.
I could use someone like you, a fresh mind. You've got some,
Like
well,
that?
you got some really good ideas. And then
Sure.
Michael Irvin comes by, and she
Oh.
shows interest in Michael Irving.
Oh.
And now we've touched on the reason this sounds so irrational is because it is. And what is behind the irrational behavior of most human being interaction is that is sex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she probably wanted to bang Michael Irvin and not the Marriott exec, not the sweaty Marriott exec who's just drinking alone at the bar because he's away from his wife.
Hey, look, you make $11 million with stock options and bonuses last year. You're still half bald. You got a little bit of a beer gut, and you're not going to be as good in bed as Michael Irvin.
No.
Right.
No, also not going to cheat on you. And if you guys should get sideways, he's probably also not going to put you through the drywall
Right.
like Michael Irvin will.
And Michael Irvin has better drugs. Okay,
Yeah.
how are you going to compete with that? So
Yeah.
there's all kinds of theories out there, but that's my You know, just from one white trash to another. That's what I'm sniffing over here.
All right. What do you got? You got anything else?
All
That's
right, hey,
the Michael Irvin story is developing, but I was early on. I'll just sum it up. Early on, I was like, "Oh, geez, what did he do now?" But now
oh no!
it's starting to look like maybe
Stop,
he didn't do
stop,
anything wrong.
just stop. Is this true? Because Pugs, this is a big accusation here, but right there. Did you hear what was said? He asked her if she could handle BBC.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. I did not hear that as being. I did
Chuck,
not hear
that is
that.
a huge accusation you're making.
It
That
makes sense though. That sounds like the kind of thing that he might say on his way through the lobby. I'm making a joke like that. All right, y'all be good. That's my Michael Irvin, and it's actually pretty good. That's actually a pretty good Michael Irvin.
I thought it was Michael Irvin.
I bet you did.
All right, can I tell you this one story? But after the show, let's just go back and erase this from all the platforms. Can we just erase this one because this hadn't been a great show anyway? And I'm going to tell a story that I don't want my mom to hear or potential employers actually to hear.
Then why don't you save it? Well, no. If actually, yeah, this has been kind of just a conversational show. Go ahead, James. But I don't want to delete because there's a lot of people who like to listen to the show in the morning. I get a lot of people that say that they listen to the show in the morning. They don't
What,
hear.
11 people? Come on, man.
All right, but I care about those 11 people, James.
All right, well, just delete it tomorrow, whenever you.
I'm not gonna delete it.
Out of bed.
You can go into it on YouTube and you can edit it out. How's that?
No, I can't. I can't touch your channels. I can only touch mine.
Why can't you touch my channels?
Hey, Pugs.
Weird.
Right, that sounded awful for some reason. What the hell?
About halfway through. All right, go ahead. We only have 5 minutes, and I've got a headache. Do you want to save it or do you want to do it?
No, look, no one's gonna watch this far into the episode anyway. But you'll
We
love
lost
the
him
story.
a long time ago.
Yeah, but you'll love this story. So I have this friend who is like he's the weed ninja. He's the guy that if you go over to his house, he like we've all smoked pot pretty much on planet Earth here, but this guy takes it to the next level. You know, he's like the LeBron James of pot. So if you hang out at his house, he'll smoke weed, like just regular weed, just like the old fashioned. Then he'll smoke this wax that's supposedly like derived from weed and has THC in it, but it's not smoking weed. It's wax, right? And then there's the vapes that you can get legal vapes from Colorado or whatever state they're legal in now. And so then you're vaping, and then he's working on a tincture to where he can mix it with sort of like Everclear and weed and I don't know glycerol or I don't know what the hell they're doing, but he's trying to perfect the tincture because
Is he going to mix it with alcohol or just water?
alcohol. Well, I don't know what all he's doing now, but he's trying different formulas. And I'm one of his test dummies, right?
One of his little lab rats.
It's not that I'm doing this on purpose. I'll go over there to watch a football game or whatever, or our kids are friends is why I always end up at this dude's house, right? So all right, let's our sons are playing, so let's go over and let me try my tincture. So he's tried different iterations of it, and some of them are god awful. And I appreciate the guys who are so into weed that they make it part of their hobby because I'm a pro weed guy, but I don't put any effort into it. So he hands me this tiny little bottle that's about this big, Pugs. You see this is about as big as my big dumb nose, right?
Okay.
About this big, and it's full of like this green stuff that sort of looks like I don't know, the vegetable drink from Cheers. Anyway, it's green and it has like some floating plant material in it, which
like algae, some kind of weird hippie algae going on in there.
It looks like pond water is what it looks like. And he's like, hey, just take a little taste of this. And it's like this little dropper bottle, right? So I'm like, all right, I take this little thing and I just down it real quick. And then him and his father-in-law's face, because his father-in-law is in the room and is down with everything that's going on. Their face just dropped to the floor. And they're like, oh my God, what did you do? I was like, well, you told me to taste it. And they're like, I meant for you to just like take a little bit and like just taste it just to see what it tastes like. Like you just took a whole bottle of my tincture and this is the strongest one I've ever made.
Oh, geez. Oh, geez. You did too much, eh?
Yeah. And so his father-in-law was like, Have you seen that Cheech and Chong movie where he's like, "You just took more acid than anyone I've ever seen, man"? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was on Up in Smoke when they were parked in the car, and I know that scene. He's like, "It's kind of like that." I'm like, "Oh, come on!" But it's weed, all right. So
Right. So here's my experience with doing too much weed. I mean, it sounds funny that you did way too much condensed weed, but it's always been my experience that you hit a plateau. Like you can smoke weed all day long. You can smoke weed from 6 in the morning till midnight, right? But by noon, you'll have already hit your plateau. So everything after that is just wasted weed because you're not getting any higher. You know what I mean? You know, you reach a certain level of high, and then for me, I just get jittery if there's
there's also a certain like physical level to how much you can take if you're smoking, but in tincture form, you can ingest more than you ever thought possible. And I did, and I didn't throw up, and it didn't
Did you get
feel.
nervous or anything like that? Like they say that's one of the signs of
No, I kind of went. They were all laughing at me for the next couple hours because I was kind of
sure.
catatonic. Like they
Uh,
would ask me a question and I would answer, but I was not James. You
you
know,
were chilled out as fuck. You were just that guy.
I was really
Chilled
just
out.
trying not to fall asleep. You know, like I had a concussion and they tell you not to fall asleep for as long as you can if you have a concussion. So I was just fighting falling asleep is what I was doing. So they would ask me a question and then I knew that they were all judging me. So I try and answer like as quickly and shortly as possible. So I didn't say anything stupid. And then the wife drove home and I went to bed at 8:30 p.m.
Just
on
you get way too
Saturday
much
night.
weed seeing you. Way
Yeah.
too much concentrated weed going through your system.
Went to bed at 8:30 and I didn't wake up the next morning until 7:30 on Sunday. I slept for 11
Good.
hours.
That's good.
11 straight hours. That was
That's good.
wild because I don't sleep for 11 hours. I can't sleep for 11 hours, but I did. And
Yeah.
so that was worst case scenario. That wasn't so bad.
That you don't need to delete the weed. You want your mom to hear that? It's weed. It's
Well,
not
I'm more
like you
concerned.
did too much heroin or
My mom's a
smoked too
decent
much
human being,
crack.
but also potential employers and whatnot. There's probably like the program director for the freak that's like, well, I guess we're not signing these
Oh,
guys.
sure, yeah. Like I was told once by a radio station when they said you're going to need to take a weed test, and I said, well, I'm not going to pass that. And he said, well, don't worry. This is Bill Gamble, legendary American radio programmer. He goes, yeah, we just need you to take a piss test, just for, drugs and all that. And I go, well, I'm not gonna pass that. And he goes, weed? I go, yeah. He goes, don't worry about it. He goes, if we didn't hire in this business, if we didn't hire people who were on weed, we wouldn't have any DJs. And I'm like, you know what? That's totally true. Everybody in radio gets high. Everybody. Except the nerds, right, James? I guess there's some AM talk nerds that don't get high. But for the most part, the fun people do.
Oh man, I've come across so many that don't, and it's really disappointing when you
Yeah.
find those
Is it
that
like the
don't.
same? Are these the same guys who show up to work in a shirt and tie to
No,
do their?
I mean like Kelly. Like Kelly didn't smoke weed, did she?
No, but Kelly has smoked weed. Kelly's just a mom. She's a normal mom, but Kelly's not like against. I'm talking about the people who are like, no, I don't smoke weed. Who look down on it? Like Kelly doesn't look down on it. Kelly just doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know really anyone that looks down on it. You can't. You can't. It's like being a racist in the NBA. It's not going to work out for you.
I
You're
know some
outnumbered.
squares. I know some squares in Chicago radio. I'll tell you. You know who are big? You know who are big stoners? Seriously, this is. I swear, this blows me away. I'm gonna make a statement now, and I need to make sure it's true. I don't think I know anyone. I know a number of people who are very successful in sports talk radio. I don't think I know anyone who's successful in sports talk radio who isn't high every day. Sports talkers are some of the biggest stoners in all of. Think about it. Dude, you're just sitting on your couch watching ESPN all night.
Mike Reiner, is he high all day? Corby Davidson, is he high all day? Jeff Dunham, is he high all day? Craig Miller, high all day?
Some of them are. Some of the names that you mentioned are.
Bye, bye, bye.
All right, there he goes. It's true. It's America's dirty secret. Judges, James? I know judges who get high. I do. I see James is still in the small window. I know judges, professional athletes. Oh my God. As a matter of fact, there is a... Nah, never mind. I was just gonna talk about... Don't even talk about it. Don't even talk about it. Why would I even... Like, I need to get a call from an old friend going, did you say that when I was on the bench I smoked weed? I don't need to get that call. So I'm not gonna say it. But I know people. I know politicians who are a big stoner. I know one politician who's a big stoner. Why? I hate that he leaves. Look at him. I know you're still listening. Look at I can see him on a little box sitting there. He's taunting me. All right, bye, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow at noon. We do this every Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. Pugs and Parker Pillow Talk right here on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. I'm done now, so I shall be going into the other room, watching television, falling asleep, and then waking up tomorrow and putting together the most incredible wang dang dilly of a high noon show you ever did here. So please tune in. High Noon airs Monday through Friday at noon right here on the Radio Misfits podcast platform. I am Pugs Moran. That was James Parker. We both love you so much.